Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for the support on Ayano's Arena. We're nearly at 500 subscribers, which isn't much in the grand scheme of things, but still means so much to me. Anyway, I asked you all a few questions, and you all provided, so let's jump right in. Question 1. What's your favorite Genshin Impact character? I love a lot of Genshin characters. Hu Tao, Xiao, Raiden Shogun, and of course Beidou. I definitely say Beidou is my favorite Genshin Impact character. I love her story, character, and just in general. She's just the coolest to me. Question 2. How do you think alternate endings for each episode would go? I'll keep these quick. Charizard versus Rathalos. Instead of Charizard impaling Rathalos after cutting off Rathalos' wings, Charizard would probably get weakened from the poison and get eaten by Rathalos. Devil vs. Snatcher. I'd probably have Madara and Aizen double fake out where the death plays out, but is actually an illusion by Devil. Freeze vs. Amelia. I'm sure I could think of something more somber, but for now, I'll say Victor would get hit with the lightning cannon, turning his suit into a gum and his death would mirror. Simon's Gas vs. Infinite. I'd have Gas recognize himself in Infinite's mask reflection, causing him to lose his mind and how old he's become, giving Infinite an opening to erase him from existence. Gappy vs. Kaiman. It'd play out similarly to how it went in the episode, just end with Kaiman dodging the bubble at the last second and biting Josuke's face off. For Tak and Light, I don't know, just mirror the Chaos death, but it's Light instead after Tak massacres everyone else. Spamton vs. Alistor is one I actually had an alternate idea in mind. Basically, Spamton wouldn't transform back to Neo, and instead of accepting the deal, he'd speak some gibberish before disintegrating Alistor in one attack. And lastly, Beta would win the clash against Shing, as they both basically swap lines. Question 3. What do you use for donations? I use PayPal currently. You can message Ayano on Discord for the specifics. Question 4. What are these characters' chances of appearing on the show? The person gave a list, so I'll try to make this quick as possible. Peter Parker, not very likely. Guts, I have a few ideas in mind, yeah. Wolverine, not impossible, not super likely, but somewhere in the middle. Superman, unless it's a specific version, very unlikely. Denji, maybe? I don't know what I'd even do with him. The TMNT series itself is impossible, since I like Splinter and Shifu, but the turtles themselves aren't super likely. Optimus Prime, I'm not interested in using Transformers. Batman is very unlikely, unless it's a specific version. And lastly, Daredevil is decently likely. Question 5. Would you rather give up your eyes or give up the ability to feel anything? I'd rather have to deal with neither, thanks. Though probably the ability to feel anything because I need to see to work. Question 6. Thoughts on my adventures with Superman, and is Jimmy on the same level of Thumbler as Mordecai? I love my adventures with Superman. I've been watching since it came out and is one of my favorite DC cartoons. And honestly, I don't think the guy who made the objectively morally correct decision is on the same level as the guy who... Honestly, there's too many examples. Haven't seen much of season 3, so maybe he did something else. But yeah, no, I respect Jimmy for not going for her until she experienced more of her. Question 7. If you could have a big budget for one episode, what matchup would it be? I think I brought this up a while ago in the server, but it would probably be John Constantine and Raido Kuzunoha. I have so many ideas for that matchup that I can't help but go all out with it once I have the chance. Question 8. How many fingers am I holding up? 2. Question 9. What is No Name's opinion on Mephiles? I don't know. Let's ask him. Question 10. When do you think Deltarune Chapter 6 will come out? We know it's probably coming out next year, so I'll put my bets on sometime in July or August 2027. Do you have any favorite Earthbound matchups? I like Gygas versus the World Machine, Ness versus Frisk, and Porky versus Cartman. I'm sure more will come in mind once I actually play any of the games for longer than a few hours. Question 12. Favorite Kingdom Hearts character? I like Aqua. Question 13. If you had a persona, what would it be? I don't know. I used to say Dr. Faust, but I've never actually read the book, and I just like Dr. Faust from Limbus Company. So yeah, I have zero clue. Question 14. Is there any series you actively do not want to use? I mean, if I don't want to use a series, I just won't use it unless I get paid to. But if I have to choose, I feel like Paw Patrol is a series that I don't want to fit in versus preschoolers. Still very much watch the show to this day, and yeah, they're really cartoony, but they still look decently similar to the real puppies, so I'm not comfortable killing them or having them kill. Question 15. Thoughts on D&D and Critical Role? Oh, I love D&D. I've been playing it for such a long time now, and I'd love to use it on the show at some point. Maybe Strahd could fight someone. As for Critical Role, I have no interest in watching the full original series because I honestly don't like watching live D&D videos, and I'd rather fill up background noise with music. Vox Machina is on my watch list though, but as it stands, I have no opinions on it. Question 16. Are you gonna see Spider-Man Brand New Day? Probably not. Question 17. Which episode are you most proud of so far? Don't make me choose between my children. I seriously don't know. I'd say Freeze versus Amelia, but it's also the first episode that someone outwardly said they didn't like and gave it a lot of reasons for it. I'd still say I'm decently proud of the fact it came out and all, considering the circumstances of that episode, but I'm proud of every episode, as corny as that sounds. Question 18. What are your thoughts on Black Panther being recast and Ghost Rider being casted as Ryan Gosling? I think Gosling looks more like Johnny than Nick Cage. I just wish they'd stop hiring celebrity actors in their 40s to play characters in their 20s. And I had no clue Black Panther got recast. Question 19. Are you planning on seeing Angry Birds 3? Probably will. Question 20. Thoughts on Shrek 5's animation? I don't care about Shrek 5, but it looks bad, but not awful. Question 21. Thoughts on JoJo's and if the series will return on the show? I love JoJo's. Currently, my favorite parts are the Stone Ocean and Steel Ball Run, and yeah, I'd say JoJo's has a decent chance of coming back on the show. Maybe sooner than you'll think. Question 22. Do you think ghosts and aliens are real? Ghosts probably aren't real, and by definition, aliens are real because we're technically aliens, but in the sense you'd expect. I'm sure there's some form of life, not from Earth, probably a form of bacteria, but yeah, I believe aliens are technically real. Question 23. Jesus, there's more of these than I thought. Favorite movie as a kid? There are so many amazing movies from my childhood. Wreck-It Ralph, Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, just to name a few. And of course, one of my favorite movies ever, The Incredibles. It's easily my favorite movie from my childhood. But for the movie that kid me specifically loved, it was any of the Equestria Girls movies. I don't quite like them as much as I did as a kid, but I still think they're really solid, and I always preferred them over the mainline MLP. I don't know how I prefer them all over any of the other movies I listed, but there's your answer. Question 24. If I were to voice one episode of Ayano's Arena, what matchup would it be? I'm not comfortable using my own voice on the internet, but to avoid that boring answer, I'll let the person currently talking for me answer the question. Hi, I'm Olliea Jones. I've been the voice the whole time, and to answer the question, I'm not sure what Ayano would prefer. Next question. Question 25. Do you see the show getting a full-fledged animated episode? I mean, I've confirmed it's happening, just a matter of when. Question 26. Would you rather write a setup for Sailor Moon vs. Madoka or end the show? I'm sure I can think of a way to make them fight. Question 27. Which parts of Infinite vs. Gas do you think you could improve on? Out of every episode, Infinite vs. Gas would be the easiest to remake, because sprites for both exist. That being said, I don't feel super passionate about doing the matchup again, especially since my opinion on who wins hasn't changed. Question 29. What was your first death battle episode? That's quite hard to remember for me, honest. I think it was Pokemon vs. Digimon, and I got really traumatized from that. But I think the first episode to really make me a fan was one of the Marvel vs. DC one. I don't entirely remember. I think it was Strange vs. Fate? Hard to say. Question 30. What made you want to make Ayano's Arena? Ever since I became a fan, I had matchups I wanted to see. Then, when I learned about indie versus shows, I had always wanted to make one myself, but I couldn't animate. Then, I found out about Fan Battle, and after the positive reception I got for my writing for Lapis's analysis for Debate Club, that combination of things made me want to make the show, and the rest is history. Question 31. Favorite versus show? I feel like comparing versus shows isn't exactly a fair comparison. They're all different in their approach. The obvious and definitely correct choice is Death Battle. But besides that, the big three. I check up on regularly are Debate Club, Nebula Theater, and Fan Battle, all of which have their own strengths and weaknesses. Question 32. What is a matchup you want to do, but can't for one reason or another? I'd really like to do Q versus the Toy Maker, but what I think is holding me back is the daunting task of researching these two and the even more daunting task of writing a reality warper fight that doesn't tread the same ground as Bill Cipher versus Discord or Kane versus Tenna. Maybe one day I just don't trust myself with the matchup at my current skill level. And lastly, question 33. How long do you see yourself making Ayano's Arena? Technically, this was asked earlier, but I wanted to save it for last. Ayano's Arena currently has two planned phases. There's the one we're currently on, and the one I like to call the slowdown phase. With the current one, at most, I can see it lasting maybe 3 years at most, and that's honestly being generous. It all depends on passion, budget, and burnout. It doesn't take that long for me to write a script. The editing is another beast, and with how tedious sound design is, I don't think this phase will last super long. Relative to other versus shows. That being said, Ayano's Arena itself will not die for a while, and I will keep Phase 1 alive as long as I can. I feel fine now, but as I get a better job, college, etc., I might have to move on to Phase 2. Basically, Phase 2 is when Ayano's Arena will take full pivot from audio dramas to animated episodes. I have a decent team of animators at work already, and once Phase 2 hits, the only audio drama episodes will be commissioned episodes or matchups I can find the passion to make. Again, ideally Phase 1 won't come for a long time, but I can only do this solo with no benefits for so long. Maybe if I got monetized, I could make this last longer, but 1 to 2 a month is a lot of work for one gal. None of these really answers the question, so I'll just say it. Ideally, Ayano's arena will end once I'm either in my 40s or if I ever get a family. That would be perfect for me personally. And that's all the questions. Special shout out to Olliea Jones VA for voicing me in this video. And if you guys want to join the Discord and post more questions in the questions channel, have a wonderful day and I'll see you all soon.